Well, the Prime Minister's decision to meet with the Labour leader has been highly controversial with some Tory MPs. It's not quite clear how the opposition will use the talks to shape the course of the future. Well, let's go live now to Parliament's Central Lobby and speak to the Labour MP, Rupa. Very good evening to you. Are you feeling positive now that Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn have met, that this impasse can be broken in some way?
Well, I saw the Prime Minister's statement yesterday, and I must say it was an improvement on the last one that she did from Number 10, when she blamed MPs for her failure to get anywhere in 3 years. And, you know, some of us have tormentors who don't really need any encouragement from the Prime Minister on primetime TV. All of us have had to put up with all sorts of stuff. We've seen how polarised the country is. So, yeah, I found it encouraging yesterday. I was also due to have my own talks with her today. I had a meeting in the diary for 5:30 when we had that bizarre tide vote this afternoon. It was cancelled at the last minute. But I think it's right and proper that Keir Starmer, our shadow Brexit secretary, that our teams do talk. Because, I mean, up to now, she's been prisoner of her own red lines, really, that she set very early on in this process. She's been boxed in to a corner. And when you're in a minority government situation, really, you should reach out the hand of friendship, reach out across the aisle. But up to now, it has felt that she's sort of had her arms folded for too long. So, yeah, let's see what comes of it, though. I mean, if it's a genuine offer or if it's just a publicity stunt.
There are some big buts. Sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say, Jeremy Corbyn, in his television interview afterwards, said, "I want the government to understand that the House does not support the deal that she has agreed, the withdrawal agreement." And yet the Prime Minister made it very clear in her statement yesterday that any compromise on the future relationship with the EU is predicated on Jeremy Corbyn accepting her withdrawal agreement. Did he not understand that going into the meeting today?
I mean, the thing is, Jeremy Corbyn came up with his own alternative plan in February, and the EU actually welcomed it. He was over in Brussels with Keir Starmer, and they said it's something they can work with to go for a permanent customs union and also a close relationship with the single market.
That's future relationship stuff. We've still got to divorce the European Union.
But, I mean, the withdrawal agreement is basically handing over a blank cheque. And also the Prime Minister should realise it's been defeated 3 times, and not only by 1 or 2, not a tide vote like today, by some of the biggest margins on the biggest scales that this Mother of Parliament has ever seen. So, you know, the EU has said that they are prepared to give an extension if there is some movement, if there's something. So I would say what we should do now, if that really is the best deal that can be negotiated, and we know it's viable, it's workable, it's been sanctioned by the EU, is to put that back to the general public versus remain, because we know that that works for our country.
So if there are elements of your future relationship that you want, a customs union, alignment with the single market, workers' rights, environmental protections and so on, if elements of that were built into the future relationship, could you see a situation in which you would be willing to accept Theresa May's withdrawal agreement?
I mean, look, the conditions in which I would allow that to pass, and it's a big eating of my words and swallowing of pride for me, because I'm from a very Remain constituency. 71% of Ealing Central and Acton voted Remain. I've always gone around saying I will oppose any withdrawal agreement, but I would allow that to pass if it was subject to a ratificatory, confirmatory vote by the general public. Because the thing is, the last time they had a say on all this was June 2016. That's a heck of a long time ago. That's before President Trump was elected. That's before the word backstop was ever created, before anyone used to talk about the Northern Irish border, before the customs union was a daily part of common parlance for people like me. So I do think this seems to have been hijacked by Parliament, by MPs, by a Prime Minister who's sort of jealously guarding all the cards for herself. I think let's thrash this out. Let's see if we can improve this. And at the end of the process, let's put it back to the people.
Well, let's talk specifically about that issue. Jeremy Corbyn said he did raise that with the Prime Minister today, the issue of a confirmatory second vote. But, as you know, it is the whole of the Labour Party is not agreed on this. For example, Emily Thornberry wrote a letter, didn't she, saying that any deal agreed by Parliament must be subject to a confirmatory public vote. But at that emergency shadow cabinet this afternoon, Ian Lavery is reported to have said this party could be finished by a people's vote. Does Jeremy Corbyn want to be the person that splits the Labour Party? You know, how do you get agreement with Labour on that issue alone?
I mean, look, the party that's fundamentally split, they just need to look opposite at the Conservative benches. That's why they've suffered these huge defeats.
You want now, isn't it? This is about what you want the Prime Minister to do. It's time to face down some of these...
If you'll allow me to finish, I hadn't actually finished my sentence. I wasn't at the Shadow Cabinet meeting because I'm not a Shadow Cabinet member. However, I do know the Labour Party is actually very united on this. It's a democratic party, so it's not just... Our policy is not just decided by people in smoke-filled rooms. We had a party conference in September, and there were hundreds of people that were locked in a room for hours thrashing out a compromise motion that said that we go for different options. So we see if they'll go for customs union and close alignment, and then we exhaust different options, and at the end of that we have to stop a no-deal crash out the option of a people's vote. That is party policy. So
yes,
that's
indeed.
what...
But that is the difficulty, isn't it? That Jeremy Corbyn only supports the second referendum to prevent a damaging Tory Brexit, as he put it, or a no-deal outcome. If you were part of the compromise process, then there won't be a damaging Tory Brexit. You'll be part of it. So there won't be any need for a confirmatory second vote.
I've spoken to Jeremy just now before I came here, and I spoke to Jeremy and to John McDonnell. Apparently very little was given away in these so-called constructive talks this afternoon. That's why I'm disappointed the Prime Minister didn't get round to meeting me, and I've been told by her office that that is being rearranged because I want to hear from myself. I mean, apparently the question of red lines was raised and it was said back, we don't use that sort of language. Again, we need to see what the substance of these talks is. It might be a good publicity stunt and thing for the cameras, but unless we get some movement, this is never going to sort, because if you've got people that won't budge, you know, you're in this constant tug of war. So I was optimistic when I saw that these talks are going forward, but I mean, if there's nothing that comes out of them, then it's just, you know, we're being taken for a ride, so we need to see. Apparently it's the start of a process and there will be more.
Yes, well, BuzzFeed reporting tonight, quoting government sources saying that the talks with Labour were not as constructive as claimed. One source saying it did not go well. Not attributed, I have to say. That's reported by BuzzFeed's Alex Wickham. We will see. As you say, this is a start of a process. More talks tomorrow. So, Rupa, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, a party atmosphere for the opening of Tottenham's new stadium. More on that to come.